I'm Jake Sanderson.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast, and of course, the Glebe Central Pub. You guys know the Glebe Central Pub is our pub in the nation's capital, in the heart of the Glebe. Go check them out at 779 Bank Street. They've got the Sens shuttle going all the way to the end of the regular season, one more game, and we have got news that they are going to be doing a Sens shuttle for all Sens home games in the playoffs, but just one bus. So if you want to go, make sure you get your tickets to the Sens shuttle, because that bus is going to be packed and it's going to be an absolute vibe. So check out the Glebe Central Pub. I'm your host, Brandon Pillar, joined by Lalime's Martian, Jack Richardson. We got a good trio here. And look, we didn't get to play Danger Flutes on this one. Only once in Locked On Senators podcast history have we played Danger Flutes on a loss. That was when the Ottawa Senators clinched their playoff spot up against the Columbus Blue Jackets. But I was almost tempted, Jack, to play Danger Flutes in this one, because a different clinching scenario, but the Ottawa Senators are now guaranteed to go up against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I guess just to say is the score of the game that happened. Sens lose 4-3 in overtime to the Chicago Blackhawks. But the story is the Ottawa Senators now know who they're playing. Jack, how fired up are you about the Battle of Ontario?
It's finally official. I feel weird coming in here for a vibecast, boys, without hearing Danger Flute. So I feel you, Pillsy. I was half expecting them to come in there, but it's great to finally be able to say this is the matchup we've been waiting for 8 years. Finally knowing who they're playing, where they're going to be. We get to dissect all the head-to-heads, the goaltending, special teams, even strength, all of it. I'm pumped, boys. So we'll focus a little bit on tonight's game, because some good things for the Sens tonight. I thought they played pretty well against the tired and bad Chicago Blackhawks team. Didn't end up getting the win, but you're right, Pillsy. The story is the Battle of Ontario tonight, so it'll be a vibecast. It'll be a vibecast. Looking forward to a rivalry playoff series. And Martian, we were talking before, I'm too young to remember the ghost of Battle of Ontario past for Sens fans. I don't remember a single thing from any of those series, so I'm going in cold. I'm going in with a fresh mind. And I know that might not be a popular sentiment. I know that some people might feel maybe a little bit nervous just with the history, but how are you feeling going in now, officially knowing it's the Battle of Ontario?
Yeah, I feel good about it. It's a little weird though, right? Because I was 11 years old the last time that these two teams played each other in the playoffs, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, these guys had me crying that night, when they got eliminated. I didn't go to school the next day because I didn't want to deal with the Leafs fans in my class. It was devastating. Those are definitely core memories that are were unlocked at that time. But we're gonna have to pull those skeletons out of the closet here, boys, because we have no choice now. It's gonna have to happen. One of these teams is gonna be moving on to the second round. It's either gonna be the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Ottawa Senators. In the first round, the Battle of Ontario is going to be electric. I mean, for guys who are around Jack's age, or fans who are around Jack's age and maybe don't remember it gets really intense, and I expect nothing less. But with that being said, I really like the matchup for Ottawa. I think that we've got the more physical team. I like our goaltending better. I think that might be up for debate if you ask a lot of Leafs fans, but I like Ullmark a lot better than either of the two guys they've got in the crease. So it's going to be a hell of a matchup. It's going to be really fun to watch. Boys, I can't tell you how excited I'm going to be. We talked about this when they clinched. You don't know if it really sets in right away, but it sure as hell is going to set in as soon as that puck drops and that Hockey Night in Canada theme song comes on and that playoff series begins. It's going to be next level, boys.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. We'll get to that series a little later on in the postcast. We should cover the game that just happened, but I wanted to get initial reactions because that is the big story here, and people in the chat are fired up about it. But I almost forgot to mention the Ottawa Senators did play tonight. They did lose 4-3 in overtime to the Chicago Blackhawks. I mean, the Chicago Blackhawks, sure, not the way you want your season to go, but for your last two games to get a shootout win and possibly spoil and ruin the Montreal Canadiens playoff hopes, and then to go into Ottawa and get the overtime win. At least they're feeling good about themselves. And Martian, I don't know how much of the game you caught last night of the Blackhawks and Habs, but Bedard's performances were night and day against Montreal. Not very good at all. In fact, I would even say bad. And then up tonight against the Ottawa Senators, he was looking like the star young player that we all know he is.
Yeah, I mean, last night I only really caught the pretty much most of the second period is what I ended up watching. And Chicago had a couple power plays, I believe, and Bedard looked good during the power plays. But other than that, I really didn't notice him. It was Demidov who obviously stole the show there last night as far as young players go. But yeah, tonight he was unbelievable. He got off to a hot start right away with a nice rip for the first goal of the game there. And then he obviously ends up getting another nice shot for the third goal of the game. So he was clicking tonight. The Habs, I would rather them, let Bedard sleep on that one. And then unfortunately he comes into Ottawa and he does his thing here. It would have been better if he lit up the Habs, but unfortunately, he came into Ottawa a little bit upset, I think, about maybe what his performance has been like the last couple games, and he made us pay. Forsberg, he's got Forsberg's number, boys. I don't know what it was, but Forsberg was having trouble stopping that wrister, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's simply no defending Anton Forsberg's game in this one. 4 goals on 16 shots, a .750 save percentage. Jack, does it concern you having Forsberg be this leaky, or is it like, look, we might not see him play until next season, and he might not even be in Ottawa Center at that time? How did you feel about this performance goaltending wise?
That's just it, Pilsy. It might be his last game as a Senator. We won't get ahead of ourselves, but not a great game by Anton Forsberg, obviously, but in one that doesn't matter standings wise, I'm going to choose to remember his performance against the Panthers a few weeks ago instead of this one. But yeah, I mean, all 4 goals are probably ones you want him to have, which is not a good sign in a 4-3 loss. So, and on top of that, not even just the goals he lets in, which we've done with Forsberg, a lot of postcasts, we've done it where wish you would have had that one, wish you would have had this one, but it's always a lot too how the team plays in front of them. I thought they played great. They had 37 shots all over the ice. It wasn't just a period here or 1 line or 2 lines carrying it. All 4 were rolling with all the guys out of the lineup, all the different combinations. I think it was a pretty as a Sens fan, you can't be disappointed in that game overall. If this was Ullmark in net, I'd be a lot more concerned for sure. I'd expect him to play on Thursday against Carolina. So I would expect that was Forsberg's last appearance of the regular season. And again, hopefully of the season in general, because you don't want him in the playoffs. That means something's gone terribly wrong, probably. So I really do think that, it was not great. And I think when Bedard's first shot went in, you're thinking, you know what? Bedard does that to a lot of goalies. He does that to the best goalies in the world sometimes. That's what this kid does. And then the next one goes in by Veleno, and you're like, oh boy, here we go. Like, that's not a good goal. And then it was kind of the snowball from there. He didn't see much action. So it is what it is. The points don't matter in the standings, but they did get a point. So not a complete loss, but yeah, it's hard to chalk this up as anything other than just not a great game from the goalie and a pretty good game from the team.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, he just kept it interesting there for the fans in the building. He just kept it interesting. This game would have been a lot different looking, I think, if Ullmark was in net for this one. But I mean, Forsberg was just looking out for the fans there. They wanted a nice tight game, a hard game, and not an easy one. So a little extra time in there too. So we can thank Forsberg for that. But yeah, as far as him getting in the playoffs goes, hopefully we don't have to see that. I think the only situation that could ever end up happening is if they end up going quite deep and Ullmark just needs a minor break just to get his head right. But yeah,
I will say Forsberg's 1-0 against the Leafs, let in 1 goal this season, so it wouldn't be the worst thing ever. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
well, I want Ullmark playing all games round 1.
Me too.
I mean, yeah, we'll be clenched pretty tight, I think, if we had to see Forsberg jump in there. So hopefully we can avoid that. Ullmark should be ready to go. He's getting lots of rest these days.
Yeah, I do think they're going to get him in that final game against Carolina. Like, he hasn't played since last Friday up against the Habs, so I don't think you want him sitting on the shelf for too long here. So I'd like to see Ullmark get in that final game. And yeah, I'm not really concerned about it. Those were all goals Anton Forsberg should have stopped. It's not like they were brutal defensive breakdowns or terrible mistakes or anything like that. And even if those had happened, like, this is a shell of your lineup. Like, you're missing so many key guys. No Brady, no Sanderson, no Giroux, no Jensen. Like, so this is not the product that they're going to put on the ice.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, he's just getting beat clean on all those shots, right, Pills? So it's
usually
like,
I'm a goalie hugger, and I feel like the chat usually gets on me for giving Forsberg too much credit when they feel he doesn't deserve it. But this one, you're not going to catch me trying to spin zone this one here for Anton Forsberg. Just a rough start here, but it is good to see that the Sens had some resilience, right? Like, we talked about it when they go down 2-0. And it's just clean shots that are beating them. The Chicago Blackhawks scored two goals on 3 shots to start the game off. Like, the Sens could have just slumped and been like, well, we don't have the full roster. This game doesn't mean anything. But Jack, did you like the effort that they at least pushed back here and made it interesting?
Yeah, I think that's back-to-back games where they haven't gotten the first goal, which has kind of been their thing this season. Best record in the league when they score first this year. But the record when they don't score first is not as good. And if it was, they'd be up there at the top of the division probably. So that was kind of nice. I mean, in a way, they get to battle back. And I saw some people talking about maybe it's a good thing that they did that against some weaker opponents in Philly and Chicago, just to have that feeling. You know, if they were up 2-0 after one, like they were a while ago for a few games in a row, they could have easily just gone to sleep and, you know, keep it in check. We got playoffs coming up. But when you're going and chasing a game, like, it forces you to just make every shift count, make every shift like you need to score. So I think that's a good mentality to train. And look, listen, boys, like, we're grasping at straws here. None of these games matter. It's all about the reps. It's all about feeling good. So I think that's what I was impressed of. They were physical. They were all over the ice. They could have very easily just taken tonight off. But we don't see this team do that. So that's a really good sign, I think, going into playoffs. As good of a sign as you can get. And I would expect against Carolina the same type of effort, because that's a team who's been in coast-it mode for a month. They've known who they're playing, where they're playing for a month in Carolina. So they're kind of in that mode already. I'd expect the same kind of effort from both teams on Thursday.
Yeah, it just says a lot about the mentality of this team going into the playoffs. They're not taking their foot off the pedal by any means, even if they're missing a lot of key guys. And when you have a guy like Nick Cousins back in the lineup here, he adds a lot of energy, I think, to this group. And you know, Ridley Gregg and even Amadio too, he kind of scrums it up a little bit. Crookshank's in there. Those guys all have a lot of grit. So like, they're just by their own play style and how they naturally play the game, I think, you know, just bodes well for what's to come in the playoffs, and just having that mentality of not really giving up on games. I think those days are kind of behind this group, and these guys are geared up. They're ready to go. So a lot of guys are playing their best hockey right now too, I would say. So it's nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take a look at the stats here for the game, as sure, it's an OT loss, but the Sens outshoot them 37-16. They go 2 for 3 on the power play. They dominate in the faceoff dot, 62%. 16-14 in blocks, 26-16 in hits. And then you look at the expected goals percentage, 73-23. So I think when you look at those stats, it really gives you some comfort being like, okay, sure, they lose this game to a bad team, but it's not like they just took the night off. And we're going to get to our Sen Central standouts for the game. I'm sure each of us can come up with a Sen Central standout in this one. Some good performances. But first, a word from our friends over at the Glebe Central Pub. You guys know the Glebe Central Pub is our pub in the heart of the Glebe, 779 Bank Street. They got great food. I love the smash burger there. They got great drinks. The service staff is awesome. The bartenders, the owner, Blair, all absolute beauties. They want to get Sens fans to Sens games. They got the Sens shuttle. Go to the website to get your ticket for the Sens shuttle for the final home game up against the Carolina Hurricanes. And even in playoffs, make sure you're watching to see when the Sens shuttle is running. They're going to have a bus for each home game, we've been told. So you don't want to miss that. If you want to vibe with other Sens fans and head to postseason games, you got to do it with the Glebe Central Pub. So go to their website, check out the times for the Sens shuttle, and there's lots of fun stuff happening at the pub too. They got live music going on all the time. And in this economy, lots of people are worried about the price of things, but price of vibes at the GCP? Well, the vibes are free at the GCP. This episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. You guys know Pistachio Pillsy here. I love my pistachios because they're both delicious and nutritious. Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Pistachios are one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to keep you feeling fuller longer. My favorite flavor, you guys know, I love the salt and pepper flavor in the light purple bag. Ross is a lightly salted guy. You can get the chili flavor as well. But if you don't want to deal with the shells, check out the no shells variety. Awesome grab and go snack for busy days at your desk, at work, or at school, on a road trip, or you just want a quick protein boost. They are your go-to. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, guys, here we are in the Postcast. I'm Brandon Pillar with Lalime's Martian, Jack Richardson. We got a good trio here. I know it's a loss, but I think we're going to spin this more into a vibe cast than event cast or even a fine cast, because we now know the Ottawa Senators will go up against the Toronto Maple Leafs, Battle of Ontario for round one. But we'll get into how we feel about that matchup and a little deeper into that after we go through our Sen Central standouts. It's a 4-3 overtime loss, but I did think there was some good performances all around. Martian, I'll start with you, buddy. Who is your Sen Central standout for the night?
Yeah, man, I'm going to go with a guy who's on a great little point streak here, and he's been playing great. I think he's been playing his best hockey as an Ottawa Senator lately, and I'm going to go with Thomas Chabot on the back end. He's just been unbelievable for this team lately. Like I said in a previous postcast, just with missing Brady, I think he's kind of stepped up more as a leader, even though he's always been a leader on this team. But he just brings a different kind of leadership, I think. He does a lot of leading by example out there. He's playing the right way. He's getting tons of minutes lately, 25-20 on ice for Thomas Chabot tonight. Obviously had a huge goal on the power play as well. I think that was the game-tying goal, if I'm not mistaken. It's all a blur right now. I'm just excited for the playoffs. But yeah, Thomas Chabot had a great night again tonight. It ended up being a -2 on the, but we did talk about how it wasn't, due to any defensive breakdowns or anything like that. Forsberg, I think, kind of let him down on that, on those ones. 4 shots on goal, couple hits, and a block. So Thomas Chabot, I thought, he's just been playing great. He's skating well. He's shooting the puck extremely well. There's something that when he does that, he's a really effective player, especially. So yeah, I'm going to go with Tommy Chabot. I loved his game, and I've been loving his game the last little while. So Thomas Chabot's my first standout here.
Yeah, that's a good call. I was thinking the same, Martian, and he's been so hot lately. In his last 10 games, he has 11 points. Like, normally we don't get to see Thomas Chabot this late in the season. Unfortunately, for several years, he ends up getting injured to finish off the season. So the fact that he's healthy when they need him most here, and he's going to be healthy going into the playoffs, is absolutely huge. Why not go into the postseason on a heater, Thomas Chabot? My God.
Yeah, and one thing he knows too is give it to the German. Obviously, he knows how to give it to the German. He tonight received one from the German, and that's what happens when you give it to the German. He might set you up for one. I love that he quoted the "give it to the German" quote in that post-game press conference. I haven't had a chance to talk about that much yet, so that's maybe another reason. I might be a huge Chabot guy now, just because I know he caught wind of that. But yeah, I thought he was awesome tonight. So let's go with Tommy Chabot.
Love it. Jack, who you got for your Sen Central standout?
I'm going to go with another guy who I've mentioned a ton before, just lately since he's been an Ottawa Senator. I think Dylan Cousins had a good game tonight. He was a bit of a force down the middle. He quieted off a little bit after that initial 10-game stretch from the deadline, but he looked solid. 2 assists tonight, and he's been nice on that first power play unit. I think getting that first power play going, I know Chabot scored, and he's not actually on the unit. Sanderson's there usually, but they were quiet. The power play was pretty quiet in the last few weeks. So getting that back up to a level where you can rely on it is big. And I just looked, like, I know it's Chicago, but the Blackhawks are 13th in the league in the penalty kill, which is crazy to me. I didn't expect that. I know, like, kind of surprising.
I think they've had a lot of practice. They're in the box a lot.
they have a lot of practice, so maybe it's more of a reps thing. But I mean, scoring 2 power play goals and 2 timely ones in a game like that, where how many times have we seen them in games like this, against the Sabres, where their power play just doesn't do anything, right? So I think Cousins being a part of that is big, and I liked his game. I think if he can it's one of those things. If one of those three big centermen, Stützle, Pinto, or Cousins are going, I like their chances on any given night. And that's a depth that the Leafs don't have. And that's a depth that a lot of other teams don't have that they can say they do down the middle. So when Cousins is going like that, Drake Batherson obviously putting the puck in the net, it obviously helps when those two are going.
Yeah, big time. I like that. 2 assists from Dylan Cousins here. I thought he played well as well. He had a really nice inside-out move early on in the game and had a sweet chance to score there too. So he's looking good lately.
He had a lot of chances tonight. How many shots on goal this guy ended up with? Because it was a good number. Oh, he only had 3, but all 3 were quality, I think. Yeah, he had that one-timer where he was set up, and Spencer Knight came across and made that incredible save. So, yeah, I mean, good call, Jack. 2 assists for him tonight, and, additionally, just all those chances. He was creating a lot. And the one thing I'll throw in, too, is – you kind of said he's had that little bit of a lull kind of in the middle since they've acquired him, and he's starting to pick it back up again. The one consistent thing that he's contributed to, that he's continued to do this since he's been here, is he's got Drake Batherson going, and that's as good as you can ask from a guy when he comes in. Immediate chemistry with Batherson. Batherson's on a 6-game point streak here as well. So, they're clicking at a good pace. That whole line, Perron too, right? He's the other guy. So Perron is also playing really well with those 2 guys. So yeah, good standout, Jack.
That's a good second line. Look, I'm gonna stick to the family tree. Jack had Cousins. I'm gonna go with Cousins. Nick Cousins. I thought he had a nice game. That's got to be a broadcaster's nightmare. It's a good thing they're not on the same line. Cousins.
You might have to go with. Remember when he was first acquired and Claire Hanna was calling him Cousins? Maybe they start calling him Cousins. Just
like the Canucks. The Canucks with 3 Pedersens, that's ridiculous.
2 of them are Elias Pettersson.
Or back in the day when the Sens had 3 Browns on the team in the COVID season, I think they have 3. They at least had 2 for sure. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, and it was Dean Brown calling the games. Like, it was just absolutely ridiculous. But Nick Cousins, I liked his game. Like, he's so feisty, and he's the kind of guy where, sure, he's a bottom 6 guy. Absolutely. He's more known for being a rat than he is a skilled player. But put this guy in the slot with time and space or on a breakaway, and he just keeps it simple and goes top shelf. Like we've seen a couple times this year when he's in that spot, he's able to bury it with ease and confidence. And he does that again tonight. Shout out Dennis Gilbert too. That nice all the way from their own end, the wraparound that ends up making it. Martian, did you see the vision on that play? I thought he was just kind of icing it, and then all of a sudden Nick Cousins is there perfectly, and it leads to a great breakaway.
Yeah, it's kind of the Sens have that as a bit of a set play, I think, in their bag. I've seen it a few times this season. It's usually not the rim around. It's more of a dump into the cross corner and then hope it kind of comes out. But yeah, good vision by him. That wasn't the only time either that I noticed that there was that like developing 3-on-2 situation too in the third period where he made an incredible pass across, the entire neutral zone to get it to, I believe, Tim Stützle, or maybe it might have been Gaudette, because it kind of died after it got on the guy's stick. So I figured it might not have been Stützle. But he's got good vision. He can snap it around pretty good. I think if you talk to a guy like Mark Mathot, he would probably tell you he loves Dennis Gilbert's game because he really can read into what those guys are able to do, those big hulking defensemen. But yeah, I think Gilbert actually, he's perfect for, a fill-in guy. If we need him to come in, he'll be fine because he's built for the playoffs too, the way he looks, just being that big. He's not super physical, I don't think, but he probably could start being a little bit more physical if he needs to. And he can fight. We know that. We've seen him fight Brady Tkachuk in the past. So he brings a lot to the table. I like his game. I don't want to shift to right away from Gilbert, but I loved that Hayden Hodgson guy. It's too bad he got hurt. I really was curious to see what they were going to do with him. If he stayed healthy. It looked like he might have got injured at the end of the period of the last game. But those kind of guys, me, Pills and Jack, like those just kind of players that I just enjoy watching them. They're fun, right? It's just like they bring an element. It's not just scoring goals. It's the physicality of hockey is what makes it such a great sport. And guys like that, you have to appreciate.
Yeah, throwback players. You love to see them once in a while and to see them get their opportunities. So I love that. So we got Cousins, and Chabot as our standouts. And Yeah, we're going to get into the playoff situation right after a word from our friends over at Upwork. Guys, Upwork is so crucial if you have a business because they can help you scale your business with the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts that are ready to help take your business to the next level, take it to the postseason. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. So whether you need extra hands for a short project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with marketing, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who already has delivered incredible results. Posting a job is simple and free. Within a day, you can have multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring someone full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently and the way you want. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. All right, guys. Brandon Pillar with Lalime's Martian. Jack Richardson here on the Postcast. A 4-3 overtime loss to the Chicago Blackhawks, but we're done with that game. Unless you guys have, unless I'll open the floor up. Anything else either of you want to say about that game?
Not really. I gotta be honest. They look good. I thought Still was shooting the puck a little bit more. That's what I noticed early on. Especially.
That's a good point.
That's all I got though, boys. I'm not gonna lie from that game.
Archie? Yeah, I think we covered a lot of the main points I kind of wanted to get to. But yeah, good point there, Jack. The Timmy's shooting it. You can still see he still thinks about it before he shoots it. I'd like him to get to the point where he just stops thinking about it and just shoots it out of instinct.
He just can't help it. He gets in the zone. He's like, "Where are my guys? I want to pass
he's
it."
Too
like,
creative.
It's a thing with him. Yeah, it's a good problem to have. You'd rather it be that way than the other way around. But
I don't know. Tim Stützle feels like as soon as he gets an open lane to shoot it, he's like, "How can I pass this?"
Yeah, because he's like, "Oh, everybody thinks I'm going to shoot this. How can I make a highlight reeler out of this instead of just doing the right thing and shooting it?" But yeah, well, he'll get there, and it's coming at the right time, right? Like with the playoffs, you just need to get pucks to the net. There's no pretty goals in the playoffs, barely ever. It's usually something just completely gritty. It's pucks like high to low. It's all that. So traffic, all that business. But we'll see. We'll see what Timmy's able to do.
All right, nice. I don't want to have to think about this game anymore. Moving on, flush it. The playoffs are coming up soon here. Sure, there's still one more regular season game, so we're getting a bit of ahead of ourselves. But we can do that with a playoff spot clinched. Check. We got it. And we know who the opponent is, guys. It's the Battle of Ontario up against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs beat the Sabres tonight to lock that spot in. And do you want to get into the Battle of Ontario or another Eastern Conference clinching situation quickly before we do a deep dive? Because
let's do the other one really quickly because I think it's kind of funny.
Okay. I think Sens and Leafs fans can all agree the Battle of Ontario would be just a bit more perfect if the Habs choke this away. And it's looking way more possible today than it did yesterday or 2 days ago or 3 days ago. So why don't you break it down there, Pilsy?
The Columbus Blue Jackets. We are all Blue Jackets. The irony of most of Canada cheering against a team called the Canadiens and then cheering for a team with stars and stripes. Our guy Julio pointed that out on Twitter, especially right now, is very ironic. But here we are, and the Columbus Blue Jackets get the 3-0 win, and they're only 2 points back from the Montreal Canadiens now, and it's a point where I'm just reloading the standings here so I got all my numbers correctly. They now are 2 points back. Montreal is 89, Columbus with 87, both with 29 regulation wins. So, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but if Columbus wins their game in regulation and Montreal loses in any fashion or even wins in overtime or shootout, the Columbus Blue Jackets take it. Oh, no, they can't win. No, they have to lose.
If the Habs get a point, then they're in. But if they lose in regulation and Columbus wins in regulation, then Columbus jumps them and they get their spot.
Oh, my God.
Well, Columbus they play Thursday, right? Or do they play tomorrow too? Is it the same night?
I think they play Thursday, and they got the New York Islanders as their last game. Looking it up here. April 17th. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And that's good. And one thing that's important, because obviously I mentioned Carolina, they're playing the Habs, which is a mismatch. They're way better than Montreal, but they have nothing to play for. The good thing is that these two teams don't have no history. Like they don't like each other. They've got all these offer sheet history. They tried to grab Aho. I know it's different management, but there's something there. Like there's not no hate between these two teams.
Yeah, I saw today they're dressing their full lineup,
which is insane.
They're not even resting. Carolina's not resting players for this game. They want.
That's awesome.
And they're coming off a loss to Toronto on home ice. So like, and you know that team, I don't know, man. I'm just saying like, it's not going to be easy for the Habs, but it'll be fun to watch. It's fun. It's been fun to hate watch this last week because it's been a bit of a spiral since that Sens game on Saturday.
Yeah. It'll kind of be really sweet just to see like if the Habs end up losing tomorrow and then they have to wait to see if Columbus can win. That is the most like it's so out of your hands at that point. That would be so hard to watch as a fan, but also as a player of that team. Like you can't leave it in the hands of another team. They hold their own fate, and it's just a matter of if they're able to do it or not. So it'll be fun.
And last point about this before we get to the Battle of Ontario is I think Carolina's looking at this too because whoever gets into that wild card spot ends up in the Metro bracket. So I think they probably want Columbus, and then like not that Columbus or the Habs would be a favorite up against Washington anyways, but if they were able to upset them, I think Carolina probably likes their chances going up against Columbus more than they do the Montreal Canadiens, and especially now that Demidov is here. So they probably want to make sure that they get to like Carolina gets to decide how that matchup goes now. Not entirely, but they have a big say in it if they're able to beat Montreal. So
I think just that by them dressing their full lineup, it tells you that they've made their decision. They're going to try to win that game.
Oh, I love it. It's so good. And hey, speaking of pettiness, hatred, rivalries, playoffs, the Battle of Ontario is back. Like we mentioned, a lot of Sens fans do not have the deep wounds that the older generation of Sens fans do, especially the ones that were there and remember all of the Battle of Ontario mix-ups. But this time, the script is flipped this time because back in the day, Martian, and you'll remember this, the Ottawa Senators were the juggernaut regular season teams that had all the expectations, and the Leafs were the scrappy underdogs that upset them. Now the Leafs are top of the Atlantic Division. The Sens get in the wild card. Do you think that bodes well for the Ottawa Senators being in this dynamic?
I think it definitely does. I mean, just history will tell you the team that is a little bit heavier and plays a harder game and is usually the bigger, stronger team usually comes out on top in playoff series. And the one thing that I will say that is different this time around than then is in the regular season, the Ottawa Senators used to own the Toronto Maple Leafs during the regular season, and then they would get beat by them in the playoffs. This year, the Sens own them in the regular season, and they're going to have to play them in the playoffs. But now, like you said, it's kind of they're on the opposite side of it. They've got that bigger, heavier look to them. The only thing that I think Toronto really has going for them is obviously up front they've got a lot of firepower. You got to control those guys, but it's scary, right? To think that like the Sens have no experience. It's like they've never been here before. We don't know how these guys are going to react to being in the playoffs. You never know. They could jump in there and they could absolutely thrive. But I guarantee you there's going to be guys who are going to be gripping the stick a little tight. They're going to be nervous. They're not going to know exactly. Like, it's a different game. I think we've heard enough of testimonial from NHL players who have said that, who they didn't know it was going to be like that. So these guys got to be ready. They got to be ready for something completely new. It's going to be a whole new experience, and they need to adjust immediately. Because otherwise you can get out of control, because these Leafs know exactly what's going to happen. They know what to do. So we'll see how it goes. But the Sens just need to be prepared to adapt to the new play style that they're going to have to get into. And they need to be able to dictate too, I think, boys, because one of the things is we've seen the Sens do it where they kind of play to the play style of the other team some of the times instead of, taking control and dictating the pace of the game or how the game is going to be played as far as physicality goes. I don't know if we really need to worry about that too much this time around, because we know how they're going to go into this one. They're going to be going nose over puck. They're going to be in your face. They're going to be dogs. And because, you look at their leader, and that's the guy who's going to show you exactly how this team is supposed to be playing. But there's still going to be an adjustment period. So we got to be ready for that as fans. I wouldn't panic too much at any point early in this series. If things don't look like they're going to go our way early, just give it a moment. I think there will be an adjustment period, and they'll end up being just fine at the end of the day.
And if things don't start the way we want, keep in mind that the Toronto Maple Leafs aren't exactly known for finishing off playoff series well. So we can hold on to that too. Jack, I want to ask you this. We kind of talked about, Ross and I, that it might be a bit of an advantage, not an advantage, but it's not the worst thing that the Ottawa Senators would start on the road. Inexperienced playoff team. Obviously, all the pressure is on Toronto. I think most people can agree on that. Can you see or spin zone a way where looking at it like, hey, it might be good for this team that they start on the road for the playoffs?
Yeah, I got so many reasons why I like this series for the Sens. Like I'm very confident going in. Just everything we've seen from this team since the Four Nations break is indicative to me of a team that has turned the corner. This isn't the Sens going on some stretch and getting in the playoffs and lucking their way into games. Like they are convincingly beating teams at 5-on-5 night in and night out. Their goaltending is tops in the league sometimes. Their defense overall as a team is fantastic. So all those reasons make me confident. But yeah, going on the road is probably the only place I would be concerned about them. In every series they play in, no matter who they played, they were going to have to start on the road, right, as a wild card team. So the one team that I was confident in them playing is the team that they've won 2 games in their barn, and they've won 2 games. And I know that you can't put too much stock into the regular season, but for a team that has no playoff experience, which the core of the Sens does not, you have to put stock in the regular season because there's nothing else to take stock out of. Like you can't just go in blind. So that's what you're going off of. I think that what's exciting me about this series is that the style of play for the Sens will translate to the playoffs. Like the way I know they played the Blackhawks, but the pace and physicality they played with tonight is how you play in the playoffs. It'll be ramped up. It'll be harder against harder opponents, but that's what excites me. And what else excites me is that for the Leafs, I do a lot of, in the last few years, we got to keep in mind here that the last time the Sens made the playoffs was the first time the Leafs did with this iteration of their team. And they've made it every year since, and they've won 1 playoff round. Yeah. Think of all the years that we've had no playoffs to cheer for in Ottawa. They've had disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. And this is kind of it. This is probably their last year. It's Tavares' last year, Marner's last year. They haven't extended. It's a bit of a regime change if they lose. So you keep that in mind. But on the ice, what excites me the most is it's going to be up to their top players breaking through. And I might get clipped if someone wants to find this after the series and they go ballistic, but every single series this Leafs core 4 has played in, they have not delivered. So knowing that that's probably their recipe for success, and it has been all season, their numbers are ridiculous this year, those 4. Like Marner's got 100 points. Nylander almost has 50 goals. Like all this stuff, knowing that that's still the case, what part of what they've done this season makes you think that, they're going to do it? This is the year they're going to do it against the Sens in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm confident for the Sens in this series. I like the matchup a lot. And I really do think, boys, if they get 1 game on the road, I know there's going to be a lot of talk about fans at the CTC and the split, whatever. I don't think it matters to these players. I think if anything, it'll piss the Sens off more if there's more Leafs fans. And we talked about Shane Pinto, that shutdown line does such a good job against the other team's top players. I'm so confident in the Sens when they're fully healthy. A rested Brady Tkachuk, like everyone's getting in their groove. Olmark's rested, feeling good. There's a lot of things to like about this matchup, and I just don't think that the Leafs will be able to match what the Sens will bring from an energy perspective. Yeah, there's just going to be games where maybe they go back and forth, but I just feel confident. I feel confident that the Sens will be able to play their game and have success.
There will be times that they're going back and forth for sure. But yeah, when you talk about the energy that the Sens are going to have, it's been pent up for all these years for a lot of these guys. And the other edge that I will say is going to be a factor is, I don't necessarily think that the players on the Leafs really give a crap about the Battle of Ontario. They're just like looking at the Sens as another opponent. I don't think they might look at it and be like, it's interesting that, it's in the same province as a rivalry, blah, blah, blah. There hasn't really been that big of a rivalry in the last few years. Yeah. But who does know that the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs go way back and have had some seriously intense series. Two guys who are standing right behind all the players in the Ottawa Senators bench. Travis Green and Daniel Alverson were in the thick of the Battle of Ontario 20 years ago. Those guys are going to tell these guys exactly why this is such an important series and what, Alverson's going to be like, look, we need revenge. And Green's like, I'm undefeated in the Battle of Ontario and playoff series, and I don't plan on stopping now, boys. So nice. I'm looking on the other side now. So let's keep this thing going because it means more than you think. And look at it. Like, we're all still talking about that series 20 years later. I think, that Tucker clip with Alfie and that Nieuwendyk goal, those are clips that get circulated still 20 years later, even before there was barely internet back then. And those clips are still found their way online and they get circulated around. So you tell those guys, look at it. You want to get etched in the annals of hockey history and on the internet of clippable moments that your fans can look at and show other fans when as a dunk or whatever it might be, right? Down the road, 20 years from now, people are going to be talking about this series because you better believe it's going to get ramped up to the level where everybody who watches hockey is going to be watching the Battle of Ontario. I guarantee it.
And I think, I don't know about you guys, but my opinion for playoffs is game one doesn't really matter that much because it just sets the table. Like, somebody's got to win. Like, it's not like you win game one and you're like, oh my God, we've got this in the bag and you feel great about it. Like, you could lose game one terribly or win it massively and the whole series could crumble and it has no effect. But for me now, I actually think game one could be crucial for the Sens because picture this, boys. The Sens go into Toronto game one and let's say it's not even a blowout, just like a classic hockey game 4-2 win for the Ottawa Senators. You know what happens then? The media goes nuts. The fan base starts to panic. And the number one thing where the Sens might have the advantage here is the goaltending. I guarantee you, if the Leafs lose game one, first question asked, who are you going to start in game two? And Berube is going to be like, what? Like, we're getting into this already. Like, we're already doing this. And it's just going to send them for an absolute loop for the first time, my mentality about game one, I think is going to be heightened here because in all the other series, I'm just like, okay, game one happens. And now that sets up the dynamic for the rest of the series. And you have to react to game one. But Jack, how do you feel about that take?
Completely agree. I think the goaltending question is huge. Like, if they do get into one of those games where Stolarz doesn't look great because he's been hot. He's been one of the best goalies in the league the last month or so. For the Leafs, but if he has one bad game, there's going to be questions, like you said, and they're probably going to switch the goaltending. They're probably going to go to another goalie if they lose a game, and the Sens won't. Ullmark is getting all 7 games. That we know that for a fact. What excites me too is like their problem. The Leafs, they've reshaped, new coach, whatever, new management. No Dubas and Keefe anymore. It's a different team. So this is going to be their narrative going in. It's like, this team's different. I'm already seeing it tonight. I saw it after they won. They won the division for the first time, the Atlantic. That everyone's talking about that. But this team, like, again, they're top heavy. And if their top guys can't get it done, then they're going to have the same fate, in my opinion. And I can see that happening. Like, they don't have a Nick Cousins on their fourth line. They don't have a Pinto, Greg Amadio third line. They don't have that depth. So to me, it really is. Now, the Sens top guys are going to need to still step up their game. Like, it can't be a by committee approach, I don't think. You're going to have games where Brady Tkachuk is Four Nations Brady Tkachuk. Like, everyone's talking about it. It needs to happen. It's going to happen. Can't wait to see this guy in the playoffs. It has to happen. Now's the time, right? That's what's exciting. I mean, like, I can't believe we're actually talking about this. This is great, boys. I think dissecting the series is going to be so much fun. Postcast to postcast after every game. It'll be great.
Yeah, I know we want to leave a lot for Pilsy and Ross to break down eventually here in tomorrow's episode.
You guys go off.
The rest of the week's episode, obviously. But no, I obviously we don't. I don't think the last thing we need to worry about is Brady Tkachuk not showing up for this series. I think that's the biggest given I've ever seen. It might not be a goal every game or anything like that, but he's going to be an impact player, and he's going to be in the kitchen of the Leafs big boys all series long. Those guys are going to have to deal with that mutant no matter what. Like, he's going to be in everybody's face, and he's going to be pounding bodies. It's going to be. He's going to cost them, like, and this is whatever. Like, it's going to be a long series, I'm thinking. And Like by game 7, these guys might have nothing left. Like the Leafs might not want to even play it because they've been taking such physical abuse from this guy. I think he's going to be that big of a force. We saw him in the Four Nation, what he was doing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Leafs just threw in the towel, boys. Like, they might just throw it in and just say, hey, like, I don't even want to play this guy anymore. He's going to be that big of a freak.
It's going to be awesome. And Ross mentions this all the time, but I want Chris Neil to go to Brady Tkachuk at the start of game 1 before the game and be like, hey, what you got to do first shift, run a guy through the wall. Just absolutely hammer a guy first shift, set the tone. Obviously, Brady, the leading goal scorer on this team, he's got to put the puck in the back of the net as well, but set the tone physically with these top players on the Toronto team, because that's going to be a big shift here. Like we mentioned, the Sens, a lot of their core players haven't been to the playoffs. Mark Mathot said it. It's night and day, the comparison between regular season games and playoff games. If you can be the one that dictates the physicality of it, that tilts the ice hugely in your favor. And Brady Tkachuk, the leader of this team, he can decide and determine that.
And that's what I keep going back to, is who is going to match that physicality. And it's not even just Brady. Like, it's Ridley Gregg, it's David Perron, it's Cousins, Batherson. Like, all these guys are heavy up front. And I know the Leafs have a bit of a bigger back end these days, but even then, like, who's gonna respond to that physicality on the Leafs? And I don't think that if they want to play that game, it'll benefit Toronto, it'll benefit Ottawa more than anything. And that's the feeling going in. But again, anything can change. We could be sitting here after game 1, after the Leafs offense explodes. One thing the Sens are going to have to watch out for is penalties, for sure. That's going to be a number 1 priority for me, is walking the line, and especially early on in the series, of not taking too many penalties, because I know that when it gets to game 5, 6, 7, they tend to put the whistles away a bit more. So early in the series, it can get away from you if you take too many penalties and let that power play wake up. So there's so much to talk about. I'm sure we'll dive into it even more, but it feels so good to have it locked in officially, boys, because it's been a few weeks now of it being set in, in the standings, but not officially locked in. So I just can't wait to dive into everything else.
Martian, any final thoughts on either the boys tonight or the series ahead?
No, not really. Just pure excitement. I'm pumped. I'm going to be boots on the ground on Thursday, it looks like here. So I get one last regular season dip in before, and I plan on being in the building for all the playoff games as well at home. So I'm very excited, and I'm glad you're coming into town, Pelsy. It's going to be nice to see you, and we're going to get to do this together, buddy.
I'm so excited, man. As longtime listeners know, I have never been to an NHL playoff game. I've never been to an Ottawa Senators playoff game. So this is going to be an entirely new experience for me. I'm going to games 3 and 4 for sure. And I think if it goes past and to game 6, you'll probably see me at the CTC for game 6 as well. I think there's a good chance of that. So yeah, I'm fired up for this, and fired up for everyone that's here in the chat. 258 of you. You guys have been awesome. We get to break this down together. We're all entering new territory. The Locked On Senators podcast and the Postcast crew will be going to the playoffs for the first time in our time doing this. So playoff postcasts are going to be so different. Postseason casts is just going to be an absolute blast, and we hope all you guys are along for the ride. So for myself, Brandon Pillar, for Jack Richardson, Lalime's Martian, we thank you for tuning in. We're going to get Ross's opinions on the Battle of Ontario, I promise you, on tomorrow's episode of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.